Chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a 9-person volunteer citizen board appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. Our procedure this evening is as follows. First, we will hear from the Planning and Development Services Unit, represented tonight by Mr. John Barrett. Then the petitioner or his or her representative will make his or her presentation. Petitioners will have 5 minutes in which to make their presentation. Board members may ask questions of either the city or the petitioner. We will acknowledge any written comments received by the board. We will allow an appearing party to express their support or objections. The board will discuss the appeal and formulate a resolution to approve the appeal. 5 affirmative votes of the board will be required for an appeal to be granted. Finally, any qualified party who is aggrieved by a decision of the board can appeal that decision to the Washtenaw County Circuit Court on a timely basis. Roll call. I am here. Mike Daniel.
Here.
Dave DeVarty.
Here.
Megan Peters.
Here.
Nicole Eisenman.
Here.
Todd Grant.
Here.
Elizabeth Nelson.
Here.
Charlotte Wilson. Chris Fraley.
Here.
We have a quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Do I have any comments on the agenda or a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Mike, support from Grant, from Todd, all in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the October 23rd, 2019 meeting. Any comments or corrections to those minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion from Dave, support from Mike, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to public hearings. We have petition ZBA 19-031, 614 Sewell Boulevard. John?
I'm John Barrett, zoning coordinator for the city of Ann Arbor. The first case before us this evening is ZBA 19-031, and the address is 614 Sewell Boulevard. This is a rehearing from our October meeting. Some information was conveyed inaccurately, and so the petitioner has come before us again tonight with a new application. So if, for design build, representing the property owners are requesting a 16-foot, 11-inch variance from table 5.17.1, single-family residential zoning district dimensions. The property is zoned R1D and has a 20-foot rear yard setback requirement. The owners are proposing construction of a new one-car garage and mudroom on the first floor and a master bedroom and bathroom on the second floor. Subject property is located on a corner lot at the intersection of Sewell Boulevard and Lutz Avenue. The home was built in 1926 and is approximately 1,332 square feet in size. The proposed addition will replace their existing detached garage and mudroom to construct a new attached addition to the home. The new first floor area will consist of a new mudroom, demoing the existing mudroom, expanded kitchen and garage that will total 613 square feet. At the first hearing, that number was conveyed as 960 square feet. The second story addition will contain a new master bedroom, bathroom, and walk-in closet. The second story addition creates an additional 390 square feet of living area. At the first hearing, that number was given as 924 square feet. The unfinished basement excavation is 224 square feet. And at the first hearing, that figure was listed as 1,048. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors and follow along, you'll see the first slide is the zoning map. You see the subject property is highlighted in yellow, and in the center, and it's at the corner of the two intersections of Lutz and Sewell Boulevard. Next slide is the aerial photo showing existing conditions and surrounding neighborhoods and properties. The next slide is the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property and the proposed construction to take place in the rear of the property back in this area right here, when you see the existing detached garage. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. The next slide is the new site plan. And on that slide, and it's in your packets as well, you can see on the upper left-hand corner, you see the at first meeting, the figures And then in this meeting, the new figures. On the first floor, you see 199 square feet listed, and I said 613. That figure is when you take the 613 square feet and eliminate the 347 square feet for a garage, which is not living space, and then eliminate the 67 square feet of mudroom, which is already existing. That's going to be demolished. And so the aggregate total of additional living space is essentially 199 square feet. And that is why that figure is on that A101 slide. And then you can see the other figures, which I've already discussed. Below it, the second floor, the additional square footage is 391 for a total of 590 square feet. And then the 224 square feet additional for the basement. Moving along to the next slide is the new first floor plan, and you see the new walls showing the garage, the new mudroom, and the expanded kitchen. This is the site plan, floor plan showing the second story, the additional master bedroom, walk-in closet, and master bath. These are the elevations, the south and the east elevation of the proposed new construction. You see in the south elevation, the new proposed garage, and in the background, the additional new addition to the existing home. These are the north and the west elevations. This is a longitudinal section slide showing the different floors, floor levels and living space within. This is a roof plan, aerial of the new roof plan. These are the photos that were submitted by the applicant with the application. You can see the perspective from Sewell Boulevard. This is just a couple other photos of the home, and you see the one, the existing driveway and in the mudroom right here. Some more photos that were submitted. You see the existing garage and the relationship to the house adjacent and the abutting property. And these are photos from this perspective from the intersection of the two streets. And this is the interior photo of the existing kitchen that is approximately 100 square feet currently. These are some conceptual drawings showing what the proposed construction will look like upon completion. See a before photo up in the upper right corner, and in the lower you see an after rendering. And these are the photos that I took when I was out in October for my initial inspection when the case was heard the first time. And you see the garage and existing garage and the existing mudroom that both structures will be demolished. Relationship between the garage and the abutting property. And you see the relative proximity between the two structures that are existing. So looking directly across the street at the properties across the street. Existing conditions of the detached garage. And that's the end of my presentation, and I'll take any questions at this time.
Thanks, John. Questions for staff? All right, if the petitioner's here, if you could please come forward, state your name for the record and sign in. You'll have 5 minutes.
Let's set this up first.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, please. Everyone see this? Thank you. Hello, my name is Jeff Forward, and I'm with Forward Design Build Remodel, representing the homeowners Michelle Seeger and Jeff Horowitz. Thank you for considering our request for this rehearing. We believe that because the facts earlier presented were misleading, a corrected factual statement would justify both rehearing the matter and granting the requested variance. Our previous application had incorrect square footage information. That misinformation may have led the board to believe that we were more than doubling the size of the house. We believe this unfortunate error may have contributed to the board's decision to deny our original variance request, and I apologize for that misinformation. I am here to clarify that information and demonstrate that our variance application is best for our clients and also best for the neighborhood. And I have three major points that I'd like you to consider. The first is the correct square footage of the proposed addition is significantly less than originally presented. And preserving the existing green space is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. We feel that this is really important. And we want to save the existing trees on the property. So to get into more detail, our first major point is the square footage. To reiterate what John mentioned, our original application incorrectly stated that the first floor was receiving a 960 square foot addition, and that correct number is 199. The second floor was receiving an addition of 924, and that correct number is 391. So at the original hearing, it was interpreted that the new addition was adding a total of 1,884 square feet, which is really big, to the existing structure. And in reality, this proposed new addition would add only 590 square feet. So you can see that this is far less than what was stated in the original application and far from more than doubling the size of the existing house. To be clear, this is a modest addition that is designed to fit into the neighborhood, and that is in no way produces a house in terms of size that is out of character with the neighborhood. Furthermore, we are improving an existing non-conforming condition. In the location of the addition, right now it would encroach less on the setback than the existing non-conforming accessory garage building. So we're really focusing on improving this area. The second major point is preserving the existing green space, which is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And I want to draw your attention to this site plan, and you can see that we've got some really unique intersections, and we have 5 unique corners, and they all exhibit a large amount of green space. So it's a really beautiful neighborhood. The green space is a defining character. And when we look at the addition that we're looking at, this sticker represents the correct size of the addition, and you can see that it has a really minimal effect on the neighborhood. It's still clustered within this group of buildings in the back, and it maintains our green space. Regarding the green space, it's an important element. We have 13 neighbors, including immediate neighbors, that have signed letters of approval. We have had absolutely no opposition to this whatsoever. Our third major point is saving our trees. There are currently 4 trees in the green space, and if an addition were to be built into the existing green space, several of these trees would need to be removed. Additionally, there are 4 city trees between the sidewalk and the street. And if an addition were built into the existing green space, a new driveway may likely be needed, which would require 1 or 2 city trees to be removed. So in closing, I want to restate our 3 major points. First, we clarified and presented accurate square footage information. This is a modest addition that is far smaller than originally presented. We are not more than doubling the size of the house. Second, by strategically placing the addition in the back of the existing property, we can maintain the existing green space and preserve the character of the neighborhood. And third, by maintaining the green space, we get to save our trees. And this is Tree City. So I really stress the importance of this corner lot in the character and fabric of the neighborhood. And we request that you submit or approve our request. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you very much. Is
Thank you.
there anyone else who wishes to speak on this petition? If so, please come forward, state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Michelle Seeger, and this is,
Jeff Horowitz?
and we want to thank you for giving us a rehearing on a request for variance. In 2002, we were looking for our first home, and the moment we walked into this house, we knew that it was our house, and we also further hoped that it would become our forever home. So 17 years later, now, we have expanded family needs, and we'd like to have a little more space. We considered moving, but we quickly decided not to do that because we didn't want to leave the community we've become a part of. And from the very start of this process, once we decided not to move, our intention and our preference was always to build something that would both be able to meet our needs, but also stay consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And we believe that the current plan does just that. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. As has already been mentioned, we have a lot of support from our neighborhood for the plan. And in addition, we have personal letters from the 3 households on lots that are closest to the proposed addition, in addition to our next-door neighbor. And we believe that this design will be able to both meet the needs of our family as well as maintain the characteristic feel of our neighborhood. So we want to thank you for considering a variance to do this work.
Thank you. Anyone
Thank
else
you.
who wishes to speak?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Jeremy Lopatin. I live at 1306 West Madison, which is sort of right here. You can see their front yard from ours. I just wanted to share a couple thoughts, mostly echoing what's already been said, but just from the perspective of a neighbor. Approving this variance request would allow that open area on the southern yard to remain open and attractive and remain consistent with the other corners at this intersection. I think that's really important. It's a really distinct intersection and focal point of our neighborhood, and I think keeping it open, as the plan does, rather than building into the southern, building further south into the yard, would be in character, or would be a benefit to the neighborhood. If the variance were granted, this house would still not be any larger than many of the other houses in the neighborhood and would still be characteristic of, a majority of the homes in that vicinity. So, I think from that perspective, it's acceptable. And, most importantly, these guys are great neighbors. They are sort of integral members of our neighborhood community. I guess my time's up now.
They obviously want to see you after the
I
meeting.
know, I got somebody waiting for me, gotta wrap this up. No, but, these guys are great members of our neighborhood community, and reasonable variances should be granted to let homeowners such as these meet the needs of their family without having to be forced out of the neighborhood or, build in such a way that it's like undesirable to them, but also a detriment to the neighborhood, right? So, from that perspective, I would encourage you to approve this variance. Okay.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who wishes to speak? All right, seeing no one, I will note that we did receive letters of support from several neighbors, including 1407 Wakefield Avenue, 1405 Wakefield Avenue, 602 Sewell Boulevard, 608 Sewell Boulevard, 1310 Lutz Avenue, 1406 Lutz Avenue, 1404 Lutz Avenue, 1402 Lutz Avenue, 1405 Lutz Avenue, 700 Sewell Boulevard, 1311 Lutz Avenue, 1309 Lutz Avenue, 1306 West Madison Street, and 1406 Lutz Avenue. With that, we are in discussion. Todd?
So I voted for this last month. I'll vote for it again. I'm looking at the 5 criteria that we have to decide this thing on. And there's been a lot of discussion here about correcting the mistakes in the size of the square footage. I think that's irrelevant because I don't think we're allowed to base, or make it a decision based on how large an addition would be compared to the existing square footage, as long as it meets lot density requirements. And second, there's a lot of talk about preserving trees, but I don't see anything in these criteria that give us the power to deny a request for a variance because the lot owner might, in building an addition, decide to whack several old trees as much as I would probably choose to preserve them. I think these things are irrelevant. So even though there are some changes from last month, as I look at this in terms of what we need to weigh our decision on, it's the same decision as last month, and I think we should approve it. I'm going to vote yes again.
Dave?
I voted no last month. And with our criteria, there are 2 criteria that clearly failed. One was the variance request is the minimum necessary to achieve reasonable use of the land or structure. And I saw the possibility of putting the addition to the south within the allowable setback as giving you options, so this was beyond the minimum necessary in terms of setback. The other criteria was the alleged practical difficulties peculiar to the property result from conditions which do not exist generally throughout the city, and I did not see that last month, and therefore it failed on that criteria for me last month. I think you've made a great presentation. And for me, I know Todd doesn't think that trees and green space are relevant to consideration. I do. And I see the existing condition of the green space in the neighborhood and the trees that you keep by us granting the setback are conditions that do not exist in other parts of the city. They're conditions specific to this site. So that is enough for me to overcome that initial criteria that I saw as failing last month. Now I see it as, there are specific conditions to the site that would allow us to say it meets that criteria. I'm still grappling a little bit with the last criteria, but at the same time, for me, green space and trees are important. And I see within considering the minimum necessary to do what you need to do, part of my consideration is saving the trees and the green space. And I look at the sight lines from 2 blocks away and 3 blocks away, and I know Eva White Elementary School is in the area, and sight lines are very important to me in areas with elementary schools, because I view it as a safety issue. Additionally, when you've trimmed a little bit off, you are reducing the nonconformity with the proposal as you're presenting it, and as you argued it today, you're reducing the conformity of the existing garage by bringing it a little bit more off that rear lot line. I'm reevaluating, and I think you've made an excellent case today. I'm pretty sure I'm going to vote for it this month, but I'll wait to hear from other of the members of the board.
Todd?
So I always am cautious about disagreeing with Dave because Dave is always the most thoroughly prepared. But I didn't want to necessarily talk about this thing here, but the 5th criteria, if I were drafting an ordinance, this 5th criteria is, in my opinion, badly worded. It says The variance request is the minimum necessary to achieve reasonable use of the land or structure. There isn't a single applicant that would ever meet that because they're already living on the land.
Right.
It's a cuckoo criteria.
Well,
And I think this comes from the the state statute, which is also, I think, if my memory is correct, also nuts about this. If you're living in the property, you obviously are, you know, keeping yourself warm enough in January and keeping the rain off your head and able to feed yourself. So no one ever meets it. So I'm glad you pointed this up because I'm often not sure how to apply this last criteria.
Right.
And it would be nice if, I know we're going on a retreat in January, if we have more information. But it's really just, that's the one criteria that's always given me the most problem. Because in one sense, no one ever meets it. We could never approve any variance request, but that's nuts. So I'd like to see how the rest of you deal with this criteria.
I think
Elizabeth?
one argument could be made that by
Criteria, I'm
reusing the driveway could be meeting the minimum necessary requirement, instead of having to redo a driveway and do the addition, by reusing that and that curb cut and all of that. That was my thought.
Well, I was just gonna say that I agree with Dave, and in terms of what you said, Todd, about the last prong of the standard, it is reassuring for me to hear this correction in terms of the square footage, because that was shocking the last time we talked about this, and it's less shocking now, and seeing the aerial view and understanding where the trees are a little more clearly with a visual is helping me understand the configuration of the house. Because I think last time my concern was that it felt like there was just sort of a preference for it being aligned in a certain direction, and it was not clearly presented just how important that preference was. So I voted no last time, and I'm inclined to change my vote to yes.
Any further discussion? Are we ready for a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Dave.
Petition ZBA 19-031, 614 Sewell Boulevard. Variance, based on the following findings of fact and in accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the following variance from Chapter 55, Unified Development Code, Table 5:17-1, Single-Family Zoning District. A variance of 3 feet 1 inch from the 20-foot rear setback to allow construction of a new one-car garage and mudroom on the first floor and a master bedroom and bathroom on the second floor. The construction is to be built per the submitted plans. A, the alleged practical difficulties are peculiar to the property and result from conditions which do not exist generally throughout the city. B, that the practical difficulties which will result from a failure to grant the variance include substantially more than mere inconvenience, inability to attain a higher financial return, or both. C, the variance, if granted, will not significantly affect surrounding properties. D, the circumstances of the variance request are not self-imposed. E, the variance request is the minimum necessary to achieve reasonable use of the land or structure.
A motion, do I have support? From Mike? Todd?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
The request is granted. Moving on to new business, we have before us the draft calendar for the 2020 ZBA meeting schedule. I guess, are there any questions or comments on that schedule as presented, or? No? Do I have, yes, John, did you have a comment? No.
I'll have a couple announcements after this.
Okay.
Do we need to move in?
Do we need
approve this?
to, yes, okay. Do I have a
I-
motion to approve?
I move that we adopt this as our meeting calendar for the 2020 calendar year.
Okay,
Seconded.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving on to communications, John?
New business, communications, yep. First, I'd like to give a warm welcome to Mr. Chris Fraley. He is our newest member, and I'm sure you guys all saw the emails that were going back and forth, but welcome, Chris, thank you. And also, Megan Peters, unfortunately, is going to be leaving us. She's going to be moving to a beautiful part of the country, and I'm sure we all saw that as well. Although Megan was here briefly, we appreciate your volunteerism and your contributions. So, good luck, best of luck in the future. And also, just a quick announcement about our retreat on January 15th. I believe it's going to be in the basement here at Larkham. And I think it would be a good opportunity to bring questions. You might want to bring questions like you just mentioned, Todd. You have some questions about that. And I believe it's going to be, our city attorney is going to be doing a lot of a presentation at this time, at this retreat. So with that, that's all I have for now. Also, go ahead, Dave.
I'm wondering if you could ask the city attorney specifically to address that E criteria in some way, like where does it come from, why is it there?
What?
Is the criteria
So
that Todd
that's-
expressed, the,
Yeah,
So-
because everybody's already living
If-
there on the
Right.
property, so they don't need the
Well,
variance.
these are things that you might, the questions that you want to
But-
formulate to bring,
Well-
or you can email me prior.
well,
and-
I will formulate a
Yep.
question, but
Yep.
if the city attorney is kind of pre-noticed,
Right.
if you let him know.
So
Is
if
it
you'll-
going to be
that's gonna
Kevin
be a
or
question.
Stephen?
I believe it's going to be Kevin.
Oh, okay.
So
But that's a
you can
particular-
email me and we can have a lot of that prepared prior.
Okay,
And-
great.
All right.
All right. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? All right, seeing no one, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion from Elizabeth, support? From Nicole, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, you're right.
I want to wish everyone a happy holiday as well. Thank you.